One of the most important modeling tools that we have is called a gumball tool. Okay. So let's imagine that we've created our box now, and maybe I want to do something with it. Maybe I put it in the wrong place. Maybe I want to move it, or maybe I need to rotate it or something like that. One thing I could do is I could move it. I could use the move command, which is simply typing in move, hit enter, and it's going to ask me, where to move from and where to go. And we'll unpack this in a bit. The other thing I could do is I could rotate it and do the same thing here, okay? But one of the easiest ways to do anything to an object is to use a gumball tool. Now, by default, your program does not have the gumball turned on. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to type in gumball, okay? And you can see it's actually auto-filling for me. So I don't have to complete it. I can just actually, if I see it start to populate the one that I want, I could either click on it or I could just hit enter if it's already auto-filled for me. Okay. And it says gumball is off, new value. And I'm going to click on. Or if that was the case, I could just simply type O because it says here that if you look at this here, O is underlined. So if I typed in O, that would set the state to on. Okay, conversely, if I did that and I didn't want my gumball, I could set my state to F for off, and you'll see that it turns off. Okay, but we're going to turn it on. Now, the gumball is a very important tool because it can very quickly move things around, especially if you just want to arbitrarily move an object. You can move it in the y-axis, you can move it in the x-axis, and you can move it up and down in the z-axis, okay? Now, it's important when you use your gumball tool to take note at what is turning black here, okay? Because if I were to grab this little grid frame here, you'll actually note that the X and Y axes are go black, and that's because it's going to keep it sort of flat on the page or on the workspace. Okay. Conversely, if I rotate it around, it's going to show me this grid here, and I can sort of move it in the ZY sort of plane. Okay. But we can use the arrows to move it around, and we can sort of, if we get on the plane here, move it up and down. All these movements are arbitrary. So maybe I don't want that. Maybe I want to move my box 4 inches in this direction. So I can actually click on it, and you'll see this come up, and I can type in 4 and give it the quotations for 4 inches. Okay. And you see that it bumped just a little bit. Let's try that one more time. I'll zoom in just so you can see the difference. I'm going to click and release. Type in 4 inches. There we go. Okay. Now maybe I want to move it in the y direction 4 meters. So I'm just going to type in 4 and I'm going to hit M for meters. Great. Now I'm going to ZS again just to center on my object here. Now maybe I want to raise it up 4 feet and I'm going to type in the apostrophe. Okay, now it's up 4 feet from where it was before. Okay, so that's the sort of the translation mode with the gumball. You can translate it back and forth this way, back and forth that way, or you can assign values, okay? The other thing you will note on your gumball are these arcs here. And these refer to the rotations that you can perform, okay? So I can rotate it that way, or maybe I don't want that. I'm going to Control Z to get out of that, undo that, okay? Maybe I want to rotate it this way, something like that. I don't know. I could maybe adjust it a little bit. Okay. Or I'm just going to Control Z to get it back to normal. Or if when I'm rotating it, if I click and hold this and if I hold Shift down, it will actually rotate it in 90-degree intervals. It's hard to tell because it's a cube, so it doesn't actually appear to be doing anything right now. But the last thing we can do with the gumball is we can actually expand or scale it in its directions this way. Okay, and that's with these little boxes here at the end. So these boxes will sort of tell you the outer limits in one direction of your object based on a central point. Okay, so maybe I want to expand that. Maybe I want to make it this sort of really squat thing, and I'm going to make it maybe long and squat. Okay. So now we can see that when I rotate it, if I hold shift down, it's going to constrain it in 90-degree intervals. Okay. So those are the basics with the gumball. And of course, you can do that with clicking and releasing on your arcs too. You can assign, like, maybe I want a 30-degree rotation, and I'll just type in 30 and hit enter. And now you will see that it's rotated up 30 degrees. Maybe the last thing I should touch on when we're talking about the gumball is when I do this, when you're rotating an object, just be cautious of which direction those arrows are facing, because the direction of these arrows refer to the positive value of rotation, but maybe I want to go negative 30 degrees, in which case it's going to return it back to its original state and sort of undo what I did before because I rotated it up 30 degrees. Now I'm rotating it back 30 degrees. Okay, so don't be afraid of using a negative sign in there if you need it to go the other way, or maybe I want to 67 degrees. Oh, okay, maybe the 67 degrees that way is wrong. Maybe I'll just Control Z, get that back, click on this, and I'll go negative 67 degrees. Okay, so that's the gumball basics right there. All right.